Hello everybody, and welcome to a new video. Sorry for the lack of new stuff recently. I'm working on it. But today I'm here with a very special collab video that I did with JreidFilms. This is probably one of the most ambitious video projects I've taken on, and it took way longer than I'd like to admit. But given that this was my first actual foray into animating, it was still a fun challenge, and I think the finished product came out really cool. So, with all of that out of the way, thank you to JreidFilms for the opportunity to work on this, and without further ado, enjoy the video! What are you eating?
Just some raw biscuit dough from the fridge.
Whatever floats your boat.
Wow, can't believe I used to do that.
I mean, that's not so bad. So, there I was, grabbing hot dogs out of the fridge. You would think that I had the sense to ask someone to cook the hot dogs for me, since it would be another few years before I started cooking myself. Well, you'd be wrong. So, I take a hot dog out of the fridge and put it on a plate in all of its uncooked glory. But it still needed the finishing touches, if you will. So, to top off this culinary abomination, I mean masterpiece, I added some ketchup and a very generous sprinkling of Parmesan. If you think this was a one-off occurrence, you'd be wrong again. I can't remember how many times I did this exactly, but my unhinged pseudo-cooking adventures came to a screeching halt when my father walked into the living room as I was enjoying my uncooked hot dog. The first thing he does is lay eyes on the hot dog. The second thing he does is look me straight in the eyes and say,
"Is that a raw hot dog?"
Hear me out.
It's probably for the best that I stopped after that. You really have to wonder how I didn't get sick. If I recall correctly, there was this one show I used to watch where a very similar dish was featured, and it looked pretty appetizing at the time. But again, I didn't know how to cook. So I just did my best attempt at recreating that dish, and the cursed concoction that was my uncooked hot dog meal was born.
Well, I'm sure me and anyone watching this is glad that you're alive, but that's not as bad as the time when I was 5. Whenever I would go to parties when I was younger, whenever it would be time to sing happy birthday, when they would pass out the cake to all the party guests, younger me for some reason would just eat the icing off the cake, leaving just the bare cake. I gotta say, that wasn't my weirdest thing I've ever done, but I always wondered why I did it. Now these days, I don't even really like cake or icing.
Honestly, same. Unless it's ice cream cake, I don't want it. So this next one is also related to food. And let me preface this by saying that I love fries. If the world is against fries, then I am against the world. In fact, I love fries so much that when I was on a skiing trip with my family, and keep in mind that I was probably 9 at the time, I had the bright idea of dipping my fries in hot chocolate. Was this a precursor to my short-lived fondness of uncooked hot dogs? Who knows, I still don't. Anyway, my parents had gotten enough hot chocolates for all of us after a whole morning of skiing, and we were just chilling in the cafeteria, as one usually does. As I'm eating my chicken nuggets and fries, one of my childhood go-to meals, the idea to dip my fries in the hot chocolate crosses my mind. Now, this was something I had never done before, but by this point, curiosity had gripped me. So I took a single solitary fry from the little package thingy, and despite my parents' protests of shock and horror, I went through with dipping the fries. They didn't actually taste that bad. Certainly not the worst thing I've ever eaten. Unlike my uncooked hot dog phase, though, the fries in hot chocolate was a one-off occurrence. But I wonder what would happen if I did it again.
That's not bad. Not bad at all. That is not as bad as the time when I had my little egg incident. Let me explain. Okay, so when I was 3, I spent a lot of time at my grandma's house, who I love to death. She always tries to keep us in line and follow the right path, but this time I wasn't on the right path. I went into my grandma's fridge and took the eggs out and started cracking them on the table. Let's just say I learned my lesson that day.
Well, child logic is child logic, so I'm sure it seemed like an excellent idea at the time. What's one more weird thing that I did as a kid? Oh, I almost forgot about this. Back when my cousin used to live with me, we would go in the backyard for a few hours a day and just do mostly normal kid things. I say normal a little loosely here because, by all accounts, my cousin was the normal one of our little duo. Thanks for going along with my shenanigans. On what was otherwise a pretty typical spring afternoon, we found an inchworm chilling out on the table at the edge of the outdoor patio. So I turned to my cousin and said, "What if we kept it as a pet?" One Ziploc bag and some backyard rocks and leaves later, because we had to make an enclosure somehow, we had a pet inchworm. For the sake of this video, I'll just call the inchworm Fred. This wasn't the end of it, though. We'd look all over my backyard over the next few weeks to look for some friends for Fred. Friends here being other inchworms. And we made a very concerted effort to keep Fred and the others away from the occasional earthworm we'd find, because we were worried the earthworms would pose a threat. Other than that, though, life as an inchworm haver was all well and good. And then, one day, it rained. Heavily. I was genuinely worried about the safety of Fred and the others because we had kept our makeshift enclosure outdoors. My parents would have lost their minds if I brought a bag of inchworms in the house. After the rain, my cousin and I checked on the Ziploc bag to see that Fred had disappeared. Of course, we were dejected. Whether Fred broke free during the storm, I'll probably never know. But whatever the case, we grabbed a rock and made a little makeshift memorial/monument to Fred. We never did something like that again, but it was a memory that stuck with me for a good while afterwards. Sorry for keeping you in a plastic bag, Fred.
Aw, poor Fred. This video will be dedicated to that inchworm. The last weird thing I did as a kid was collect rocks. Younger me would go to a summer day camp, and as I was playing Legos with the other kids, I see this rock, and I was like, wow, this is a cool looking rock. And let's just say, when you collect one rock, you collect a lot of rocks. Dang, we did a lot of weird things as kids, eh, Chamomile?
What's to say we're still not doing weird things?
Well, Chamomile and I were some weird kids. Alright guys, that's the end of today's video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace. Hey Chamomile, I got the ice cream.
I got the mayonnaise!